So, hi everyone, welcome to the first Future Talent webinar of the Autumn Milk Round 2021-22. Today, we will be talking to you about TLTWorld and the strategy for TLT, and also life as a trainee. For those of you that don't know me, it's not working now. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sam. I'm the Future Talent Advisor at TLT, and I am joined by John.
Hi there, I'm John Wood. I'm the managing partner of TLT, which for those of you, I'm sure you're all very well informed of what that means in law firms, but basically it's equivalent to being CEO. So I'm responsible for strategy and delivery of that strategy. So I think we're probably going to go around clockwise, so maybe it's over to you now, Beth.
Hi guys, so I'm Beth, I'm one of the trainees. I'm in my second seat now, so I started in February, and I'm currently in the FSDI team, which is Financial Services Disputes Investigation. Jen, do you want to get it?
Yes. Hi everyone, nice to see you all here. I am a third seat trainee. I'm currently in the regulatory team. My second seat was in commercial disputes resolution. My first seat was in clean energy with Maria Connolly, which I'm sure a few of you know of. I applied for my training contract a few years ago and went straight down the sort of assessment day route and didn't do a vacation scheme, whereas Sam and Beth did a vacation scheme. So I'm sure they'll talk about that later. Sam, do you want to do a bit of background?
Hey everyone, good to see everyone here. My name is Sam. I'm a second seat trainee. I'm currently in the corporate development and investment part of the real estate team. And for my first seat, I was in FSDI, which Beth is currently in.
Fab. Thank you, everyone. So moving on to our first agenda piece. John, would you like to talk about TLT as a business and TLTWorld?
Yeah, absolutely. I recognise very clearly that I'm the support act here, because I think everyone who's tuned in here is not tuned in to hear about my views on TLT, because they've probably read that already, because they're all very switched on. What they're tuned in to is to find out the secrets of winning a training contract from Jen, Sam and Beth. So I will be relatively brief, and you can spend more time talking to the guys who were successful in getting a training contract and their experiences of being a trainee solicitor. So with that in mind, I'm not going to focus on the traditional law firm stats, turnover, how many people, all that kind of stuff. I wanted to give you a feel for who we are, I suppose. Let's deal with stats quickly. You'll all look those up. 110 million turnover, 1,300 people, 6 locations across the UK. So we're a big firm. But that's not what's key to being at TLT, actually. What's key about us is that we're moving. We're a fast growth business. We're probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing firm in the UK. I joined TLT when it was formed in 2000, which for many on this call is indeed actually literally a lifetime ago, isn't it? 21 years ago, but I joined 21 years ago. At that stage, we were 7 million turnover. We're now 110 million turnover. So no day is the same at TLT. I've been here 20 years. Every day has been different. We're constantly moving, constantly changing. We also pride ourselves on being just a bit more than the average lawyer. We focus on being business advisors as well as just lawyers. That's not to say that black letter law is not important in what we do. That's looking up in the legal terms, but we want to add more. We want to get into our clients' businesses, understand what they're about, and add commercial solutions to what they're doing. It talks about us being in 6 locations. We're spread across the UK, and again, probably you know that. We've got 6 locations across the UK and very strong international connections as well. We have a partner firm in Holland and Belgium who are very close to, and now as COVID moves away, hopefully, there'll be chances for secondments across our international partners as well. Something I'm sure some of you have read about, and Jen mentioned Maria Connolly being in the press a lot. Another one of our partners in the press a lot is James Giselle. He leads on our future law team, which is about how we recognise that legal services are changing fundamentally, that actually we now need to combine technology and in-person advice to be there. And future law team at TLT is driven, invested by us, because we recognise that the law firms who aren't doing this, they can end up like the guy riding a horse when everyone else is driving a car. This is how the new world is. We're heavily investing in that in TLT, and it's an exciting opportunity for trainees. We're going to have our first seat in the future law team coming soon, which will be an exciting part of building what new lawyers will be like. And the final part of this slide is talking about, I suppose, our approach to sustainability and also EDI. Now we have a new strategy in the firm, which we launched last year. Traditionally, I think in law firms, EDI and sustainability have been seen off on the periphery. There's been strategies all about how you can actually make more money, and EDI and sustainability are a bit of add-ons. Well, not for us. They are two of the key pillars of our strategy. Two of our key deliverables are about how we work with each other, how we become the firm of opportunity, and also our responsibilities around sustainability. So it's not an add-on, it's key to what we do. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Sam, do you want to do, sorry, I'm saying Chris Whitty here. Can we have the next slide, please, Sam, and we'll just move on to talk a little bit about how we structure the business. So the guys have talked about the seats, and I'll talk more about it, the seats they're in, which are what we call the service lines, the disciplines they do. But as I said, we want to focus on our clients' businesses. Our clients do not care about how law firms break themselves by discipline. They care about their sector and they care about their businesses. So we have 7 sectors we focus on. The first, again, it's all about Maria Connolly, which is not in the room. It's about clean energy. We've been involved in clean energy for 20 years as a business. This isn't some greenwash for us. We were one of the first firms to do offshore wind and now cover all areas of clean energy. Particular focus in the moment, as there is across the sector, on electrical vehicles and battery storage connected to that. We're also doing a lot in the digital space. We act for a lot of telecoms companies. We've recently put on the Vodafone panel. We're also on the BT panel. So if you join us, there's plenty of experience available to you in that digital and telecom space. A lot of the guys have all mentioned, I think FSGI, financial services, is huge for us as a business. We act for all the major clearing banks in the UK, doing a whole range of services for them. We do a lot of litigation for them, but we also do commercial and IP work, as well as just general banking work for them. The leisure industry's had a pretty tough time, hasn't it, over the last 18 months? It's been pretty torrid for them. And you know what? They've turned to and relied on their lawyers throughout that period. So we've been incredibly busy in the leisure sector, supporting our clients. It feels like they're coming out the other side. Certainly the activity we're seeing for some of our larger clients is huge at the moment. A lot of acquisitions going on as the leisure sector opens back up. Whilst the leisure sector was being hit hard, public sector was incredibly busy throughout the pandemic. We do a lot of work for central government, and anyone who's in the commercial teams at that time knows just how busy we were supporting central government in the public sector. Real estate, this is where we act for the owners of real estate. So if you pass those big warehouses on the motorway, we act for the owners of those type of warehouses. If you see a large hotel, we'll act for the owners of those. So it's a sector where there's still a lot of investment coming into the UK, overseas, and also funds within the UK. And then the final sector we focus on is retail and consumer brands. Now, everyone's thought retail's having a torrid time, and it has on the high street. But actually what happened throughout the pandemic was those with a good virtual offering and online offering have done incredibly well. And we act for Boohoo, and we act for JD Sports. And for those who are selling food, guess what? We act for Co-op, we act for Sainsbury's. We've been incredibly busy in this space, in the retail space. The idea that retail is disappearing, I think we probably all shopped more than we ever did, didn't we, when we were all stuck at home. The dangers of having an Amazon account meant that we could just click and have things delivered to our door. If you want to move on, Sam, to just the last point I'll talk about, which I think is probably the most important part about who we are at TLT, which is about the values, about who we are and why it's important for us at TLT. Now, at TLT, going beyond expectation is not sitting at your desk to the middle of the night, hanging your chair on and clocking the hours out. That's not what we mean by this. What we mean by is applying yourself beyond the pure legal, thinking about how we can help clients, how we can move them on, and speaking up when you've had those thoughts. And we'll come round to talk about work side by side. What we want from the earliest stage of your career is you think around problems and suggest your solutions to them, not just follow like painting by numbers. And that links into challenging convention. We're not massively interested in how traditionally law firms have worked. We're interested about how we do things best for our colleagues and for our clients. And that links into our approach to the TLTWorld, which Sam mentioned. That's a shorthand we use for how we're working in the new world. During the pandemic, we all ended up working from home, and looking like this, you can tell it's a Friday, can't you? Because all 5 of us are at home, ready. I think the guys are ready and raring for the weekend. Quick exit if you're working from home on a Friday. But we worked out that we can work from home. 1,300 people went from being in offices to working from home. And you know what? It worked. TLT had a brilliant year last year. We had difficult times, but as a business, brilliant year. As we come out the other side of it, we've worked out that actually there were some things we do better in the office. So some of the collaborations, some of the learning and some of the socializing. That's much nicer. I don't think none of us want to do another Zoom quiz or Zoom wine tasting. I just want to be in person for these things, actually. Maybe not another quiz. So what we've done in TLTWorld is say, look, we're not going to be prescriptive about what time you spend in the office and what time you spend at home. We hire brilliant people. We trust our people. Let's have the conversation about what works for you, what works for your clients, and what works for your team. There isn't one size that fits all. Let's work out the better way of doing that. Being prescriptive and saying it's 3 days or 4 days just it seems crass in this new world where we can actually work in a truly flexible way. And hopefully the guys will talk a bit about how they're experiencing that, or you may have some questions about how that works. Linked to that is about working side by side. That's about having conversations with each other, being approachable. I was about to say, we're not hierarchical. Well, I'm there, my title, managing partner, I'm the one partner, we've got trainee solicitors, so yeah, we're a law firm. There is a degree of hierarchy in law firms, but we try to minimize that. We try to make sure we're approachable. We try to make sure we're having conversations as colleagues. I think Sam was really pleased when Legal Cheek gave us, was it Legal Cheek was one that gave us the most approachable partners award. And I'm not usually that bothered about awards, but I thought that was great because actually it reflects who we are, and hopefully they're going to say, because I'm in the room, aren't I? Hopefully it's reflected the guys' experience of being at TLT as well. We're very keen that we make sure that colleagues feel supported throughout it, and that's been so important during the last 18 months. As I alluded to before, sustainability and inclusivity are core to our strategy at TLT. It's not just something we put on the periphery. It's not a greenwash. These are things we are passionate about as a business, are investing heavily in as a business. We know the legal profession has some way to go in relation to EBIW, but we're going to make sure that we're at the forefront of that. So if you join TLT, you will find that we're a firm of opportunity which wants to make sure we have a diverse group of colleagues. It is a virtuous circle for us. It's the right thing to do, but it is also beneficial for our business, that it allows us to bring a variety of minds around the table. So we're really, really passionate about it. Finally, just talking about sustainable action, again, something we're very driven about. We've been in clean energy for a long time. We understand sustainability. You may have seen Legal Press. We'll soon be opening a new building in Glasgow. It will be the most sustainable building in Glasgow. I was lucky to be up there a few weeks ago to look around. It's fantastic. Now, buildings like that are expensive. That's putting our money where our mouth is. There are plenty of other offices we could have moved to in Glasgow, but because we're passionate about sustainability, we chose to be in that building. There is also an electric vehicle scheme for colleagues within the business. We're trying wherever we can to actually back up the rhetoric and actually deliver on sustainability. So that's probably enough rhetoric from me, isn't it, Sam? And I probably want to move on to the guys who are actually going to say what it's like working at TLT rather than hear me talking about the wider strategic purposes. So I'll hand over to the guys, but happy. And I think all of us will agree that the most value of this is when we get into the Q&A. So happy to take any questions once we've heard from the guys about their time as trainees.
Thanks, John. And please do use the Q&A function as we go through to ask your questions, which we will get round to at the end. So I think next we're going to hear from Jen.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks very much, John. Appreciate you introing and then passing over to the experts. So thanks. I have a habit of going on a bit, so I'm going to do my best to keep it tight, guys. And as everyone said, feel free to ask us questions at the end. Also, all of us trainees, and I'm sure Sam and John as well, feel free to add us on LinkedIn afterwards, send us messages. We're really, the key thing that you'll notice from everything that everyone says is hopefully that we're really approachable people. Like we just want to make sure that you have the best experience and that you're applying for a firm that suits you. And, TLT is all about that. At least that's been my experience. As mentioned at the start, I applied just for a straight assessment day rather than doing a vacation scheme because I'd paralegaled for a few years at different firms in Bristol. And so I knew what I wanted, and I knew that TLT was the way forward for me. The way that I've set out this slide, you'll see it says flexible, driven and supportive, and then there's bullet points underneath that. When I applied, they were sort of the main it was called the TLT way, and it was the way that we set our values out when I was applying. So I thought that would be quite a good way to sort of structure my section, because I do think even though we've sort of progressed and changed our values, these are still really sort of important as we're going through. And you'll notice that even in the values that John's just talked through, these are still sort of permeating through the whole of TLT. So first of all, with flexibility, I realize that these all sound like buzzwords, but TLT really isn't about lip service. Everything really is proof in the pudding. So one of the things that I would say is that each seat in your training contract, I'm currently in my third seat, is very different. And I'm not just saying because my first seat was property and then my second seat was litigation and now I'm in regulatory. It's not just about the area of law. It's about the different kind of works that you're doing as well, the different people that you're working with. Everyone's really lovely, but you get to sort of get a different balance. Sometimes you'll be working more with partners. For example, in Sam's team, he's got 2 partners and then it's him. Whereas in sort of different teams that I've worked in, then there's lots more people. FSDI, you'll be in huge groups of people working out those dynamics. Whereas, and then other teams, it's sort of a more medium size. For example, in regulatory, I'm sort of working with a group of 10, but we're like really close knit and it's really nice. Also, across the firm, we sort of have this one firm, 6 offices view. So even if you're working in the Bristol office, you'll still do work with London and Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, even Belfast I've done work with as well. I think it's got that really nice sort of flexibility in terms of just because I'm based in Bristol doesn't mean that I'm only going to be working with Bristol people. And especially during COVID, I think we've really utilised that and made it quite a big effort to be working across our offices. There's also been sort of secondments internally when it comes to trainees. So some trainees have been based, for example, in the Glasgow office, but then done a secondment to the Manchester office and done work that sort of they're more specialising with there. And it just shows that TLT really is flexible in its disciplines, and it also wants to make sure that you can make the most out of not just your training contract, but the way that we work together. Most of the departments as well have at least one weekly meeting a week that has all of the people across their team from all of the different offices talking together, sharing what work they're doing, and it sort of increases the internal network, finds out what work people are doing, but also it's just good to sort of catch up and find out where we are. Again, kind of linking to that supportive and approachability, I've sort of known everybody in every team that I've worked in because you get that opportunity. I realize that these things all link in with each other. So sometimes I'm talking about flexibility and it sounds like I'm talking about supportive, but that's kind of the point. Also, like I say, you'll be working with multinational clients as well as private individuals. John's done a really good job of mentioning a lot of the big clients we work for. Another thing to mention is obviously we do work with private individuals. We've got a family law department, we have a tax department. Even sort of in the disputes team, you can be doing disputes for private individuals. So just because you might be more interested in big corporate clients doesn't mean you won't get that opportunity to work with different people as well. Also, even big corporate clients, there's individuals at the basis of that. You know, they need our assistance on an individual level as well as being corporates. And I think that's one of the really nice things about TLT. The reason why we get hired is because we develop those personal relationships with our clients and because they want us to, okay, yeah, we're also dealing with their big sort of corporate issues, but can you help me out with this on an individual level as well? Because I've been so impressed by your experience. And I think that that's something we really do well. I think that's at the foundation of TLT really, is that just because we're good at this one thing, see what else we're really good at. And that's why we have this sort of sector approach. And I'll talk about the sector approach a bit later when I'm talking about supportive things, because I think that's something we're really good at. About being driven, one of the things that TLT is really good at is if you want to make the most of your training contract, if you say, hey, we don't have this and I really want to do that, I'd really like to get involved in this opportunity, everybody is all for it. Every time I've wanted to do something, I've always been supported and sort of backed up. I'm sort of on the LGBT network committee because I just said, I really want to be involved in this. I'm really passionate about it. And they really wanted to enhance that. We also did the legal walk the other day. TLT doubled the fundraising money that we made. They really want to make sure that if you want to do something, there's an option for you to do it. And that's across the board, not just at trainee level. I've heard of people throughout the firm saying, I think there's a really good opportunity to do this. Can we do that? I was speaking to Nick Schenken the other day and he was saying about how he spoke to John. John doesn't know I'm going to tell this story. And he said, and he was like, oh, I really think there's an opportunity in America. We need to sort of be galvanizing this. And Nick got shipped off to America pre-COVID times to sort of make the most of that. And he was just so excited talking about it and what a supportive place TLT is. So I think that shows that throughout the levels, everybody's sort of being motivated. And like I say, it's about being proactive and being yourself. And the whole point of a training contract is to make it fit around you. And TLT really does do that. You do get a larger amount of responsibility from the get-go, and I think that's one of the things that's really great about it. Even from my first seat in clean energy, I was emailing clients, I was on the phone to them, I was the one sort of developing those relationships and that network right from the beginning, which I loved. And this kind of links into the supportive thing. As TLT, well, because we work in sectors, all of the sectors you might will work in with our clients. So when I was in clean energy, I was working with Ecotricity, and I developed relationships and working with people there. Then when I moved on to disputes, the same clients I was working with, developing those relationships. Regulatory, we also advise Ecotricity and regulatory. So right throughout my whole training contract, although I'm working with different clients, you also work with the same clients. So now I can be calling up people going, hey, Kira, how can I help? What are you doing? We should grab lunch sometime. And it means that me, even at this early stage of my career, have developed those relationships to go forward with. And I think that that's so fantastic that TLT has that sort of trust in its trainees, because it knows that it's hired people that are of the standard that it wants. Additionally, with the supportive thing, like we say, I'm part of the LGBT network. I'm also part of the women's network. We have a BAMES network. It's all of these things to try and make sure that everybody is supportive. They can bring their best self to work and also just be themselves, because TLT is just all about how can you be the best that you want to be. That's how they want to sort of have everyone come to work. And I think that's something we do really well. Additionally, with the agile working, every team, if you want to work from home one day, if you want to come into the office, it's really been a sort of ability to sort of suit you. I've got lovely equipment all around me. We've all got these Britney Spears headsets, because TLT said, how can we make sure that if you are going to work from home and you want to, you're as most comfortable as you can? I got a little mouse that I can do all this with. I've got a nice light over here. That's why I look so gorgeous today. TLT has really been supported to make sure that everything fits and suits you, whether you want to work at home or whether you want to work in the office. We even have things like money towards buses. So if you're getting public transport in, then you can sort of buy your bus tickets. There's a cycle to work scheme, everything to make sure that TLT is working for you. You're not necessarily working for TLT. Well, hopefully you will be as well. Also, I think it's important to just talk about support for disabilities. I myself am dyspraxic and dyslexic, and I also suffer from anxiety, hence the very fast speech pattern. TLT has been fantastic at that. Right from my application stage, they were talking to me throughout each stage of the application. What reasonable adjustments do you want? How can we help you? What is the best way to support you? That was when I was applying, let alone when I've started. Every time I've been in a new seat, every manager's been like, how can we help you? What is the best way? Are there any adjustments that we need for you? And it's developed this situation where I don't even think about talking about it. I'm more than happy to come forward and say, actually, I need this. I might need a bit longer. I need some breaks. I need to talk about this. And there's just never been a problem. I think it's just such a supportive and approachable firm that we're really put in this situation that, I want to come to work. I enjoy work. I've worked at a lot of firms across Bristol. I'm not here to talk about them, but TLT, by far, I'm so happy that I'm doing my career here. There's a reason why I applied for TLT, and there's a reason why they invested in me. I think we work well together, and I really think that if you're the kind of person who wants to make the most of opportunities, get along with people, and really sort of invest in a company, I'd really recommend TLT to be that place. I'm sorry if I went on a bit too long.
Jane, we're gonna bottle that and put that on the website, I think, aren't we, Sam?
Yeah, I'm gonna snip it.
Yeah, quite the new advocate TLT.
Yeah,
I've been doing it a while.
Going all over social media, Jen. So next we have Beth, who is going to give, if it works, Beth is going to talk to us about a typical day.
Right, I'm not really sure how to follow that. What big shoes to fill. So yeah, I thought I'd just talk about just kind of not an average day, because every day is very different, especially now that we're able to go back into the office. Obviously I'm working from home today, which is just really nice, but I can go into the office when I want to, if I want to see colleagues, which is really nice, especially as a trainee. So I thought I'd just do a day in the life at the office, because that's quite new to me. I did most of my first seat remote working, so going into the office is almost like a novelty now. So yeah, I try and get in quite early. I really like to go to the gym before I go in the morning, and the facilities at the office are great. We kind of got showers and changing rooms, so that makes that all really possible and easy. And then kind of that's 8:30, 9. I'd like to just start my day with just like kind of catching up with everyone, grabbing a coffee, just doing a bit of a walk around the floor. So as I said, I'm in FSDI, we actually have one whole floor, which is really nice. So I can just walk around, see other trainees, see other people I'm working with. And then I just kind of picked out some things that I've done recently. So at the moment, the internal meeting, I had an internal meeting with two partners that I'm assisting on a big kind of complex mortgage enforcement matter. And in that kind of, they're obviously leading it, and I'm taking on a lot of the roles kind of supporting them. So in that, I mean, I'm getting a lot of responsibility. As I said, at 10:30, I was drafting a without prejudice letter straight to kind of the customers of the bank, which is, I mean, that's a really big thing. It's kind of first-hand kind of contact with the customers. So it's really part of like the strategy in the case. And it's really nice that I'm being able to kind of put my own opinions across and really trying to figure out what to do in this case with two partners who are kind of really senior. And it's just really nice that I'm in those conversations and being able to put my own views forward. And actually with that letter, it wasn't completely crossed out. They kind of spoke to me about it, and actually I think I did quite well in it, which is quite nice. So that's always, it's really nice to get that feedback as well from people higher up. So they're kind of some of the tasks that I did that morning. And then, so I have two supervisors in my current seat because one of my supervisors is on kind of a part-time secondment. So I think these are quite common in my team, especially because the banks always want people kind of internally. And it's really nice that we're able to kind of offer that to our clients. So one of my supervisors is there a couple of days a week. So I've just got two. So I always have someone to contact, which is, again, really nice because the more people that you're kind of chatting with and get that supervision from, you just learn even more. So normally have a bit of a catch up with them, talk about the matters that I'm doing, the work. If I have any questions at all, I can ask them. And then when I'm in the office, as trainees, always like to have lunch together. Maybe we'll pop out to St. Nick's Market or something. We can all catch up and just debrief how many questions, which is really nice. And then I put in here, so I've been doing quite a lot of disclosure bundling at the moment. So a lot of our cases, if they do go to court, then we have to obviously disclose documents to the other side before we go to the hearing. So I can assist with that. And that's normally something I like to do in the office because I like to print out all the documents, have it all there. So that just, it makes going into the office kind of really worth it. You can have all those documents. It's worth the walk that I've got in. So yeah, I did a lot of that recently. And then virtual lawfare, just things like this. These are the things that I really enjoy doing as a trainee. It's really nice to be able to speak with you guys. It wasn't that long ago that I was applying. And so yeah, it's just nice to put our view across of how I'm actually finding it as a trainee. And then 3:30, I've just put catch up on my emails there. Obviously, I do check my emails before 3:30 in the day. But I try not to check them constantly because I quite like just getting down with my work. And so I put there, send out my checked emails to there. I'm not kind of sending out emails all the time to clients without people checking them. People are always checking our emails, which is a really nice thing as a trainee, that you get that support. They're checking what you're writing, and you learn continuously from people just kind of amending your emails, talking to you about your emails. So that's really nice. And especially in my seat, I do a lot of matter management. So I'm kind of managing the matters. I'm coming up with the next steps that we should take. And then I'm just running it past the supervisor. And then I'm actually taking those steps in emailing the client, emailing the customers. So I'm also putting my name out there as well, which is obviously really good, building those client relationships, as Jen mentioned. And then I just put another task that I've done recently. So drafting instructions to counsel for an upcoming hearing. So this might be when a hearing's next week or something. You're just kind of giving counsel their instructions on what you're hoping for the outcome of the hearing to be, and what they can kind of aim towards. And then at 6:30, I put log off. This varies every day. I don't think I've ever put work past kind of a 9 p.m. thing, and that's very rare. And it's always nice if I am in the office. Normally us trainees will go out 6 o'clock, we're at the pub. So that is really nice. And I think, yeah, we're just restrictions easing. We are all keen for drinks every day we're in the office. So yeah, that's just kind of, yeah, one of my days as a trainee.
Makes me want to be a trainee again if you're going out for drinks every night.
You can join us, John.
Yeah, where's our invite, guys?
Yeah. Picking up lost time.
Thanks, Beth. That was really insightful for a day in the life. And then next we have Sam, who is going to talk a bit about his useful skills that he's picked up during his first seat in Beyond.
Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Sam. So yeah, basically, I'm just going to go through some useful skills, kind of some tips on things that might be kind of useful to develop prior to your first seat. They all interrelate into each other, but I've broken them down into a kind of a few key constituent parts. So obviously, when you come into your new seat, you're going to be dealing with multiple different tasks. This can vary depending on which seat you're in, if you're in litigation or a transactional seat. I was in litigation, now I'm in transactional. That's quite different. But something that has kind of carried over, you're operating with multiple deadlines. Of course, you are for different clients, some work can be more urgent than the other. And you won't be able to always focus on one task at one time. So just having the ability to be able to kind of go back through different tasks, writing keynotes for yourself as well, so you know what's kind of related to each matter, so you can kind of keep abreast of those multiple deadlines. The second point I think is quite an important one, and it's something that I think it's always something that's been kind of mentioned with first year trainees, because being a trainee is not easy. It's quite a challenging learning curve, especially if you've had no real expertise of that seat when you come into it. I was lucky enough to be a legal assistant for a few months prior to my first seat in FSDI. And although I was doing different work, if you can land a role like legal assistant, I would really recommend it, because even just knowing how to file an email in the right section saves a bit of learning time. But of course, there's a massive learning curve. And so you've just got to be resilient. You're not gonna walk in day one and get everything. Otherwise, what will be the point of the 2-year training contract? So it's just something to keep in mind, and not going to get too down about, and keep working, because TLT trust in you. They picked you for a reason. They believe you are good enough, and you just have to keep going with it. Organization. I can't overemphasize it enough, especially if you're in a litigation seat, on the importance of organization. Of course, it's key in transactional as well. But court deadlines, you don't want to miss them if you're in a litigation seat. So just make sure that you're got a good to-do list or a spreadsheet. I don't know how people kind of organize their work usually. Whatever works for you, just make sure you've got a good system in place. Make sure you're keeping your supervisor abreast of new developments. Make sure you've got little reminders in your diary. Just simple things like that aren't really kind of legally based or any legal knowledge. Just make sure you can do those, because when you come in your first seat, you're going to be balancing different kinds of work. You've also got the professional skills modules. These kind of skills modules you have to complete throughout your training contract to kind of build your kind of skills as a lawyer. You have to kind of book those, and in your first week, I believe you do 2 of them. So you also have a training record as well. So I believe this is an SRA requirement. You need to fill out a training record and keep a kind of a diary of what tasks you've done and throughout your training contract. If you can kind of keep on top of doing those and don't leave it till, I don't know, the end of seat 1, you'll have a much more balanced and fun time, really. This kind of feeds onto it, the next one, time management, and again, links to the other ones. Prioritization of tasks is a must when you're getting various deadlines, especially in transactional seats. Sometimes things can drop on you quite quickly, and you'll be able to react and adapt, and not forget about the task you're doing before, but still obviously focus on the task that is more urgent. We also have time recording, which you probably are aware of to some degree. Time recording is where you record how much time you're spending on each task. It's key in billing, because we are charging the client and certain fees, or it gets counted your time into those fees. And so it's important to record how much your time is billable and not billable, so it can be included in that. Communication, again, a very important skill, especially actually since we've been kind of working from home as well. I mean, I started my training contract in March, so still fairly deep in the pandemic. And you have to communicate really well when you're working from home, because your supervisor's not there next to you. They can't necessarily see when you're struggling or see when you've got a lot of work on. So you just being able to reach out to your supervisor and having the confidence to talk about your capacity and just make it, building that relationship so the communication is smoother throughout your time in that seat. Also, if you have good communication, a good relationship with your supervisor, you'll get the most out of the seat and of your supervision meetings. You can mention to your supervisor, "I'm really interested in this part of work in this seat," and if you tell them that, they are going to go out and look for an opportunity if they can, of course, you to do that. And again, good communication, it makes instructions very easy. When you're sometimes it can be quite easy if you're working on something to assume that your supervisor has the same knowledge that you have. If you have good communication, you can very easily bring them up to speed with that matter if they're not, they don't have the same understanding of it as you do. And the final one, and I guess arguably the most important skill, is having a bit of perspective. This is something that I sometimes struggle with. You go in, you want to do the best. We're all ambitious people. We want to do the best that we can straight off the bat. And you get that first drafted letter that you've worked on, and it's got red lines in it, and you think, oh no, well, I'm not good enough to do this. You've just started. You're not going to be amazing straight off the bat. You're going to work on it, and those red markers are just things to improve on in the future. And even moving seats, you've sometimes got to remind yourself of this. Going from a seat where you had, you built up by the end of your seat some decent knowledge. You're actually useful. And then you go into a new seat and suddenly you've got to start all over again and build that new knowledge. So I'd say this is probably the most important one overall for me anyway. Just remember that it's a 2-year kind of building process, and you will get there in the end.
Fab, thanks, Sam. And I think you picked up on a few really important points there around perspective. So I'm going to talk to you a bit now about how to apply, and picking up on Sam's point of perspective and being a trainee when you're not expected to know it all. All of our application forms and assessments are not as easy as possible, but they are made for the graduate market, whether you've done law or non-law. The application form is commercial questions and questions about TLT, and the questions in the interview and group exercise are also there to show your strengths. We're not expecting you to come in and know it all and be a fully fledged lawyer already. So starting at the beginning for online application form, we are open for vacation schemes and training contracts. Both of those are online application form of 4 questions. So as you're here, I will give you a little insight into what the questions ask. So one question is about our sectors and your interests. Another question is about our brand values and why you want to work at TLT and why you think that you'll fit in. Another question is on the skills that you have and why you think that you'll make a good lawyer. And the 4th question is an advisory question, so putting you in a lawyer's shoes and how you would advise someone. But again, it's not, you're not meant to know legal knowledge, it's just you're showing those communication skills. There are some academic questions, but there is space for mitigating circumstances, and please do use that to your advantage. Write down anything that you think is relevant, because we are an open and inclusive firm. If anyone does need any help with any of those, as Jen said, she's got dyslexia and dyspraxia, so if anyone needs any additional help with anything, then do let me know. It might be that you need the application form in a Word document instead of online. Then just email the graduate inbox, which you can find on the website. At that point, you will be invited to an assessment centre. So the assessment centre for a VAC scheme consists of a mini interview around your strengths, your motivations, why you want to join the VAC scheme at TLT, a group exercise, which is based on commercial issues. So again, you're not meant to know any legal knowledge, it's just assessing your teamwork, your inclusiveness, how you put your points across and the ideas that you have. If you go for a direct training contract is gendered, then there is also a presentation, and the presentation is on a topic of your choice. We're really keen to know what interests you, and we're keen to hear about it. The only brief for that is that you link it back to legal implications and think about how TLT can help with your passion in that way. On the vacation scheme, you'll get to sit in a team of your choice. As we're doing the organisation of it, you'll get a little booklet with the teams that are available and what they do, and you'll pick up to 4 and you'll be popped into one of those 4 teams for the week. You'll be doing real client work, getting stuck in, going on trainee socials, networking. We really encourage you to reach out to everyone in the business to find out about more than your team. It's kind of an open week for you to really get stuck in. And there is also another interview on that week to assess you for a training contract and a hackathon, which I haven't yet organised, but last year's was on agile working and putting yourself in TLT shoes as a business, encouraging you to look at the law firm as a wider business and how we can sort out agile working for a way that is beneficial to employees, but also our clients. And that had really good feedback. Everyone that did that really enjoyed it. So that is the application process in a nutshell. But I will quickly go through training contract dates before we go on to the question and answers, because I can see that they're coming in thick and fast. So applications are open now for the SQE training contract and the vacation scheme. The vacation scheme will happen next year, and we're currently recruiting for our 2024 cohort and intake, but we do have some, we may have some spaces available earlier than that, at which point, if you're successful, we will have that conversation with you. If you aren't eligible for our vacation scheme or training contract yet, then we do have an insight scheme that we are doing this year for our first and second year undergraduates. So please do take a look at that. That's just a 3-day scheme for you to come into the firm, find out what TLT does, the work, and have a little bit of experience there. And we also are reintroducing our TLT live open evenings this year, which will be in office, and they are happening throughout November. So do head over to the website to check the dates that are relevant for the office that you want to apply for. So enough from us. Let's get underway with the question and answer part of the webinar. So there's a question for John around TLT clean energy. This person finds it a good example on how our collaboration with Forest Green is a good example of how the firm is committed in working on tackling climate change and to work with clients with the same vision. How is the firm trying to become greener in its everyday work and within its offices?
It's a really good question, isn't it? Yeah, a firm that holds itself out as being interested and passionate about sustainability. How do we actually do it? Well, we're lawyers, so the first thing we do is we actually get some evidence together. So we've teamed up with a business called Carbon Intelligence, who are experts in analysis of how we can get to net zero. Now, knowing if you're improving something, you need to know where you start. So Carbon Intelligence has been going across our estate, across our whole business, working out what our carbon footprint is and how we can then improve it. Now, there's some simple things we're doing already. We have electrical vehicle charging points in all our buildings. We've got solar panels on the roofs, all those obvious things. We also have electrical, as I said before, electrical vehicle scheme for our colleagues. But it's actually the supply chain. That's where the big differences you can make is pushing this down to our choice of suppliers, the people we contract with, expecting them to stand up to the same standards we do. So that's a huge, that's the lawyers, isn't it? We love this. We're getting right into the detail. We're getting into contracts and analysing the commercial contracts we make with our suppliers to ask them to make sure that they're fulfilling the same sustainability obligations we are. So we're very passionate about it. We have an in-house team whose sole job is working on our own sustainability footprint, getting us to net zero. But it's hard for any business because you're reliant on your supply chain, but we're very careful about the suppliers we work with and our expectations of them. So what has been interesting, sorry, a bit of a rambling answer, what's been interesting during the pandemic is that when we thought we couldn't be paperless, or we had those who pushed back against being paperless, boy, we've used a lot less paper during the 18 months of the pandemic, and we will not go back to where we were. We've shown that we don't need to use that. And actually, for a firm with 1,300 employees, you get through a lot of paper if you're not careful. and it's just unnecessary. So lots of things going on. A key thing I would say, and people on this call do join us, we also have a sustainability forum, which we're very keen for people within the business to join, to bring their ideas about how we can improve our performance in relation to sustainability.
Fab, thanks, John. And a question for one of the trainees. You might want to, we'll start with Jen and do a key skill for each trainee. What key skills are TLT looking for in trainees, and how can you develop these?
I'm going to do a little bit of a cop-out. And what I would say is that TLT really just supports everyone as an individual. One of the things that it does its assessment on is sort of, Sam, you'll know the phrase, what's it called? It's
Strength-based.
Strength-based, that's it. Sorry, guys. It's been a while since I applied. We do strengths-based interviewing and we do strengths-based assessment. So you don't have to be like me, who talks all the time. You can be introverted, you can be extroverted, you can have skills in lots of different areas. TLT just wants to see what your skills are. Try not to think about, oh, well, TLT wants me to be this person, this carbon copy. We don't. We want to find out who you are. And so I realize that that's not very useful if you're trying to sort of work out how you can be a cookie cutter. We're not that kind of firm. We want you as an individual, and we want to see you and how you can put yourself forward. And I realized by saying that, it also means that my other colleagues have got a difficult job saying how you can have a good skill. But I would just say the best skill, very naff thing to say, the best skill is being yourself, guys.
Thanks, Jen. And it is true. We're not looking for carbon copies of cookie cutters. But Beth, you're going to have to follow that.
Yeah, I think mine kind of follows. I think it's just looking for potential. I think that's what TLT are doing. They're looking for, I got it off the vacation scheme in my second year. So I'd never worked in an office before. I honestly, on my first week, didn't know how to send an email and file it properly. I could send an email, but it's really just looking for that like eagerness to learn as well. Like you're learning continuously for 2 years. I finally got kind of comfortable in my first seat, and I had a week left. And you're on to the next seat, and it's almost like starting a new job. So it's just that kind of eagerness to learn. So I guess what Sam's really looking for in you is that potential and the willingness to learn.
Thanks, Beth.
Yes, kind of following on from that, I mean, what Beth and Jen have said is completely true. I think I'd say the main one would be, I guess, kind of enthusiasm or a willingness to get kind of stuck in. It's kind of following on from the potential point Beth said. At the end of the day, the way you're going to get the most out of your training contract, I feel, is if you get involved with different pieces of work, you get a full experience of the seat, you reach out and look into those pro bono opportunities, you join those committees. That is the way you're going to fully build yourself as a fully fledged lawyer. And I think that TLT really recognizes that it will provide you with those opportunities if it's there. It believes that you're willing to take them, and if you want them, they're there and available. So I would say ultimately enthusiasm, willingness to get stuck in.
Fab. Thanks, everyone. We do have another question for John. What are TLT's plans for growth in the near future?
Let's continue growth. We're certainly not finished yet by a long chalk. And this is where a bit I get boring and talk about stats, but our biggest challenge probably as a firm is talent. Clients want to use us. We've shown that time and time, year on year, and the guys will know that. The work comes in, we grow, our turnover grows year on year because clients want to come to us. It's not because the legal market in the UK is suddenly expanding. It's actually we're taking market share from other firms because clients like the way we work. They like the talented individuals we've got. I'm looking on my screen here. They like working with them. So I want to keep taking market share, and we will keep taking market share across the UK. What I want is the people who have dialed into this to be joining us. We want the best talent to keep joining us. So our plans for growth remain focused on the UK. We're not going to put flags in the map internationally. We'll have strong international connections, but we're not going to go on some vanity project where I tour the globe opening offices across the UK. We think there is plenty of market share for us to take in the UK, actually, from why clients like working with us. That has been proven throughout the pandemic as well. We grew by 11% last year. That's outstripping the rest of the market. So our plans for growth remain as they always have been. We have talked about numbers, and we talk about turnover numbers. I don't think they're particularly important actually for the people joining this. You've got to realize you're joining a business that's growing, that creates huge amounts of opportunities, and that's the opportunity to develop your own career at a pace. Because if you join somewhere that's established, it's kind of a set mold. It's about not being cookie cutters or being carbon cutters. You've got plenty of opportunity because all the teams are growing. So there's vacancies for newly qualifieds all the time. And then when you've been a newly qualified, there's vacancies for becoming an associate. There's vacancies for being a partner if you're a part of a growing firm. So if you're interested in something that's constantly changing and growing, TLT is certainly the place for you because it changes every day.
Great, thanks, John. And I would like to add on to that, that even though we are recruiting for training contracts, we're not just looking for trainees, we are looking for the partners and the leaders of the future for you to stay with us throughout your career. So another question for the trainees. I'm going to pop these into one question. So to what extent would you describe your work as being reactive and firefighting work? And does this differ according to seat? But also, how much client contact do you have?
Hi. In terms of reactive, I think it's naturally it depends what seat you're in. You know, if you're in litigation, it is reactive. The whole point is that suddenly someone will issue a claim when they said you didn't think they were going to. You're going to mediation. You think it's all going to settle. They decide no. You have. That's how it works in litigation. And I don't think that is TLT specific. That's just the nature of litigation. Transactional as well. I would say it's a lot less reactive. You've got more of an idea of where the process is going. You will sometimes be reactive in terms of, as John says, a lot of clients want to work with us, and we are stealing work from other firms. So you will suddenly get an inquiry and go, oh, right, we need to jump on that and work with that. But it's not sort of reactive and firefighting in a way that is out of control or you don't know what to do. And especially as a trainee, you always have that support in place. Your supervisors know how much work you've got on. They're talking to you about your capacity, and they don't want you to be working late. They don't want you to burn out. You're at the beginning of your career. So although maybe there's a lot of work at TLT, you are protected as an individual, that you're not going to go above your station and you're not going to sort of be overwhelmed at any point. So I think that it's really important. Just because the firm is busy and growing doesn't mean that you as an individual are going to sort of be working all the hours in the day and that you're going to be getting stressed out. TLT isn't about that. And I think that one of the good things about TLT is generally as a firm, it's got quite good hours and it's got that support in place to make sure that you aren't sort of wearing yourself out. And if you are, it's all about communication. Luckily, your supervisors will have frequent contact with you, and so they'll be able to tell, but also hopefully you'll feel comfortable enough to talk to them about it. In terms of client contact, yeah, lots of client contact. Like I said, I'm sort of on the phone to clients, like emailing clients myself. There'll be lots of times throughout all my seats, sort of in clean energy, CDR, and now that I'm in regulatory, they'll say, why don't you just pick up the phone? Why don't you just talk to the client? Why don't you just call the other side, call the court? And it's not, if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable, they'll obviously sort of walk you through it. But if you are and you're eager to go, a bit like me, then there are those opportunities to sort of grab. And obviously writing emails and things like that, that's one way to sort of talk to clients, but also being involved in calls, taking attendance notes. I went to physical court, real court, not just online court the other day, because there was those opportunities here. And TLT wants its trainees to be making the most of its training contracts and to be able to be involved in that. We don't want newly qualified who've never spoken to a client before, I don't know if any of my other trainees have anything else to add.
I was just going to pick up on the client contact element, just because the seat that I'm in at the moment, which Sam was in as his first seat, is lots of client contact every day. I'm kind of emailing clients, emailing customers. It's because I manage those cases. So those cases are kind of in my name and I'm supervised on those. So partners and legal directors and associates are supervising me, but I'm kind of thinking about the strategy of those cases, and obviously the supervision's there. So if I don't know where I'm going, I just pick up the phone to my supervisor and just kind of talk it through with them. But then I'm the one I might just pick up the phone to a customer or a client and let them know kind of what's going on and ringing the court as well. The other day I had a remote hearing and I was kind of the contact with counsel, and IT issues with remote hearings always happen. So I was kind of just trying to sort that out. So I had kind of that responsibility as well, which is really nice. It's not that you're kind of behind the scenes, it is really that you are out there and kind of making a name for yourself, for your career as well.
Fab, thanks, Beth.
Yeah, kind of following on from what Beth and Jen have said, I would say in terms of the work, I'm in a transactional seat now, so very much commercial property is what I'm dealing with. A lot of it's quite proactive, and there is some reactive work, but actually one of the things I quite like is that you're looking to further this transaction. So you're not just, when the documents come in, drafting them, amending them, you're pushing them to the other side, you're checking with the client what their position is, and then you're relaying it, you're managing the whole transaction, which I really quite enjoy. And I think it's quite a good skill to have as well, being able to know where the transaction's going, be able to further it, because that's what the client wants at the end of the day. They don't want you to sit around and just wait for them to check in with you. They want you to check in. In my current seat, I'm producing reports for certain clients that go out every week, and they want to come in on that day, and they expect me to be able to do that without prompting. So definitely proactive work that happens a lot in transactional seats. In terms of client contact time, I don't know if I can follow from what Jen and Beth have said. They pretty much covered all the bases there. But yeah, you generally get a lot of client contact time. I'm talking to clients on the phone quite a lot, and it's good to build that rapport, and it makes the whole kind of experience and the work you do with them that much more valuable and more enjoyable as well.
Fab, thanks, Sam. We do have a couple of questions about SQE and recruitment, so I'm quickly going to cover those. So no, we don't recruit on a rolling basis. I do wait until the deadline to read all of the applications so everyone has an equal chance, but don't leave it until deadline day. Don't be that person a few days before the deadline is late enough, because you never know what tech issues you might have. We do have an international sponsorship license for anyone who might need that. And then we've got a couple of questions about the SQE. So for those of you that have the LPC or LLM or are currently studying that, that does not mean that you are excluded from the new SQE training contract, at least at TLT anyway. You will be exempt from the SQE 1 exam, and then we will sponsor you through your SQE2 and your QWE, which is qualifying work experience. There is a question around our support and sponsorship. So if you need both of the exams, then as we have sponsored our trainees with GDLs and LPCs, we will still sponsor you through the SQE, but we will be asking for you to do all of your qualifying work experience with us. We are still going to continue the 4-seat rotation, as we believe that having that opportunity to experience 4 different practice areas makes you a really well-rounded lawyer, and when you do choose to qualify into a seat, you have those complementary skills of knowing what your other colleagues do and how they carry out their work. So that's really important for you to be able to do that. We want you to have the best training possible. I think that was it in a nutshell. There are a couple of questions about applications, so I'll quickly cover those. So to make your application stand out and what I look for when I'm reading them, I'm going to take one of Benny's tips from last year, because I thought that was a really good tip. She said that when she was writing her application, if she could take TLT out and put another firm in, it wasn't tailored enough. So do make sure that you tailor your application to TLT. And also, I think at university, you're so used to writing essays and hitting those really large word counts, but in the practical world, our clients want to know the answer, concise but detailed, and I think that's how you approach the application form. If you can say something that you've taken 3 words to say, but you can say it in one, say it in 1 word. Clear, concise, and detailed. I think coming to these things helps you pick up on little tidbits that you can pop into your application forms and your interview questions, and just keep an eye on the website for any interesting work, and make sure that you know the sector approach. It's another big tip. I think we are at the hour mark now. So thank you to my fellow panel members for coming along and helping today and answering everyone's questions. We haven't gotten through all of the questions on the question and answer, but so if we haven't answered your question, please do email me at graduate@tltsolicitors.com or feel free to add me and the trainees on LinkedIn. John, we won't inundate you with lots of LinkedIn requests.
You should feel free to, though. I'm not in quite such an ivory tower yet, and I'm not happy to reply to anyone's questions. So please feel free. I'll probably not get inundated, but I don't mind that at all. This is what this firm's about, and it's about, you know, the reason we've given up, people on this call have given up their time, is we want the best talent to be joining us. So please, if you have any questions, don't hold back from contacting any of us. Please don't.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks for joining. Bye,
Thanks a lot.
everyone.
See ya.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.